Welcome back. We'll talk some Drew Brees in a second, but first, Nationals, Giants, Kurt Suzuki hitting the line drive to left center. Oh, Kevin Pillar laying out to make a great catch.
And I wonder if he's going to be a Gold Glover this year. I feel like he's been in first a bunch, covering a ton of ground in center field for the Giants. That's a heck of a play, man.
All right, moving on. This is the Atlanta Entertainment Basketball League. This is high school class of 2020, and this is shooting guard Jimmy Gatwich picking up Quinn Cook's pockets before hitting the 360.
This kid, he's got a highlight reel in high school like Zion, just without the enormous bulk and weight to him. He keeps inventing dunks in games. We saw him do the beneath both legs dunk a couple weeks ago. See, that was this kid.
This was what, the 360 between the legs.
Reverse. I thought last week that was the best in-game dunk we've seen. He did that with so much ease. Comes around playing some defense, picks the guy's pocket. Yeah. I like that.
All right, Cowboys practice. This is for you, CC. Jason Witten.
How did this
reaching back to complete the one-handed grab.
That ain't one hand. He brought the other hand in there.
How did this make the show? This is rude to Jason Witten. This is rude to him that we say this is an amazing highlight. This is like showing the 100-year-olds who run the 100-meter in a minute 40.
Don't be shading on Jason Witten like that.
One of the problems Cowboys had was red zone. So right here, that's a touchdown in the red zone, Bill, to help them out. If he can do that during the regular season.
There you go, see? Yeah. Way to put some shine on it.
All right, let's talk about the Saints.
Shine on his bald head. Has he got hair now?
I don't know.
Despite heartbreaking losses to end their last two seasons, the Saints are still tied with the Patriots and the Rams for the NFL's best record during that span. This year, a resilient Drew Brees will be playing his 19th season and said, quote, "I think I have the ability to be as good as I have ever been." Chris, how has Drew Brees been able to just be as good at this age?
Let's just remove the name.
Okay.
Why is Tom Brady so effective this late in his career? Why is Ben Roethlisberger so effective late in his career, over 5,000 yards? Phillip Rivers. Number one, the game's easier. The game's easier to play. You can't put the physical pounding on the quarterback that you used to be able to, so they've protected the quarterback more. The rules, as far as pass interference, illegal contact, all those things, they lead to the quarterback. The no huddle, having the mic in your helmet, that gives the quarterback a huge amount of information pre-snap. So right now, everything is led to the quarterback being very, very successful. When you can't hit them, they know you can't hit them. You can't hit them high. The quarterbacks can sit in the pocket, become more comfortable. I would say at this point, 2019, more quarterbacks are trying to play longer, and you understand the game. The game starts to slow down. It's as if you have the answers to the test. Tom Brady said that a couple of years ago in an interview. Drew Brees said that in an interview recently, so you know. Ben Roethlisberger, he continues to play at a high level. The game's a lot easier. The requirements in the offseason are not as strenuous. There's less time on the field. But for the quarterbacks, this NFL game is the friendliest that it's ever been. So Drew Brees takes care of his body. He loves playing the game. He's been in the same system for a long time there with Sean Payton. So you can see he feels like this will be his best season, the way last season was, which he played, especially for the first 12 weeks, at an incredible high level.
And so that's in kind of the general reason that a lot of quarterbacks are playing so much longer than we'd expected, at a higher level than we would have expected. For Drew Brees specifically, I thought an article we were talking about this morning by Albert Breer in the MMQB was really insightful about famed quarterback coach, or is it even mechanics coach? I don't know what his title is, Tom House.
Let's just say throwing coach, because he works with baseball pitchers.
Okay, throwing coach, that he will talk with Drew Brees regularly, and if he misses a pass, he will quiz Drew about what did you do wrong there. And it's about, elbow in, elbow out, the different types of different mechanical issues that he could be having. And I find it really fascinating that even at this age, this season, to see these guys, Tom's doing it, Drew's doing it. You said before the show, Peyton almost got it started doing it.
If you would equate every quarterback to a golfer, then you wouldn't be surprised.
You're totally right, because golfers are always reworking.
Analyze every swing.
Every swing, for no matter how long they play. It's a really good analogy that I had never thought of till you just mentioned it. That because maybe in my head, and I think a lot of people's head, you think that once you get, unless you're reworking your throwing motion like Cam Newton, once you have a throwing motion as good as Drew Brees is, what you always talk about, over the top, where his height doesn't hurt him, that it's just a repeatable motion, and that if he has one get away from him, he knows instantly what it is, just get back to it. But working with someone on a day-to-day basis, trying to either improve, tweak, whatever, I'm certain that has contributed. It's almost a different version of sports science to his success, because he's not the athlete he once was. Not that he was ever a superstar athlete. I'm sure he doesn't have quite the arm strength he once did. Not that he ever had the strongest arm in the league.
I would be careful.
You disagree with that?
Working with Coach House and a number of other guys. Tom Brady, we saw this summer.
Yep.
He measured his ball velocity. It was faster than when he came in. So, yes, these guys, Drew Brees, his arm is as strong or stronger than it was at Purdue. And we're starting to see minor gains, but doing it for a long period of time. So even if it's a minor gain, but I've been doing it for 15 years, it adds a lot to a quarterback.
And then when you add the mechanics to his accuracy, to his ability to see the field, to his decision making, a lot of that comes, like you said, with being in the league a long time, with knowing what defenses are going to give you. But do you think that the team that's surrounding him right now could be the best team he's had in his career right now?
I think they have a chance to be special. Excuse me. They have, over the last 10 years, they've had a number of offenses that would go down NFL history as special offenses. And Drew Brees has put together, like Peyton Manning, some of the most historic seasons. But I do believe, because of the lack in the last 2 years of tight end productivity. So they go out and get Jared Cook in free agency. Last 2 years, Saints tight ends have been one of the least productive we've seen in the NFL. Second fewest targets, only 150 in 2 years. We're talking about Drew Brees now. So they basically playing with 3 receivers. The tight end has only been a blocker. Their tight ends are the 5th fewest receptions, only 108 receptions over the last 2 years, and 4th fewest yards in 1,200, little more than 1,200 yards. So you add Jared Cook to a Michael Thomas, who I feel very comfortable with. Alvin Kamara coming out of the backfield, playing more first and second down compared to just being a third down back. And I believe something you're going to see in the NFL, and I believe the Saints are going to be one of the teams guilty of it. Around the NFL, teams are not trying to play the fullback more. We saw New England get back to a fullback-centric offense. We're going to see not the fullback, but you're going to see more 2 tight ends in this NFL season. The Saints and Sean Payton, you can see them with Jared Cook and a number of other tight ends they have on the roster. So for me, that would be a vast improvement. Help them to be more physical at the point of attack and get those get those tight ends out in routes.
You asked if this could be the best team he's been on. Look, the best team he's ever been on is the one that won the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that just because they won the Super Bowl. That was the #1 offense, and this is really surprising for the Saints, a #4 defense.
Yep.
They had extraordinary players on both sides of the ball. Remember, a young Malcolm Jenkins, who's now with Philadelphia, was one of the safeties on the team. They had really good talent on both sides. When they missed the playoffs 4 out of 5 years, going 7-9 every single year, each of those 4 years, the 7 and 9 years from 2012 2016, they had either the worst or second worst ranked defense in football. The last couple years, when they have had tied for the second most wins or tied for the most wins in the NFL, they've had a league average defense to go along with, as Chris said, always a great offense with Drew Brees, even though the offense changed a bit with Ingram and Kamara being a more run-centric offense. I do think this Saints team has an argument that it is the most complete team in the NFL. And we have seen in that dome with that coach and that quarterback, if they have a top 15 defense, they're in the game for a Super Bowl. If they have a top 10 defense, they can become Super Bowl favorites. If they get enough pass rushers off the edge, they've spent a big investment on their secondary as far as being able to play nickel, having 3 competent corners. Pass rushers plus that corner play, if they can force some turnovers and play well in a very tough division, I trust the offense as much as any offense in the NFC.
All right, you mentioned the defense, you mentioned the tight ends. No one's worried about Ingram not being there. Is no one factoring that in?
I think that's the reason why, from a formation standpoint, Kamara carried the ball a lot more touches, 74 more touches in year #2. That progression, he's always been a specialty back. He's a little undersized, slightly built. I don't want to see him carry the ball 300 times. So I believe also Latavius Murray comes over as a free agent, a big back from Minnesota, should be be able to assume some of that pounding. So watch how many times he touches the ball. Can he be as efficient as an undersized running back when you bump up those touches? But I believe from a scheme standpoint, they're going to try to duplicate what they did the first 11 weeks of the season. Drew Brees, first 11 weeks, best QBR in the NFL, struggled from week 12 through the playoffs. He was around middle of the pack, I think around 12th ranked quarterback. So trying to continue what they got off to a blazing start last season.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, talk some Cowboys. How will Zeke's holdout impact Dak Prescott on the field? That's next on First Things First.